as some of you will already know, I love to do multiple tunes and multiple variations of vehicle types to use in a particular Le Mans event to earn tons of cash in GT7. It's a fantastic mix of earning a lot of money, it's like 1.65 million an hour, but at the same time having a lot of fun with weather that can change up, vehicles that are interesting to race against, but also a race that isn't that difficult to win depending on what difficulty you go for. And the difficulty makes no difference to the event itself. Now for this one, as you can see, I'm using the RedBull Junior. Now the reason why I'm doing this with the Red Bull is because despite the apparent lack of power, it's actually a fantastic car to use, and a few people mentioned and recommended this one to me a while back, so I gave it a try, and now, to be honest, this is pretty much my go-to. It's not my favourite car to use, but I do use it a lot because it's just easy. And you can literally go for the entire race without pitting in once. So, no fuel, no tyres, just do the entire thing and win by easily well over a minute, even with that lack of power. So you can buy it, of course, in that Gran Turismo dealership under the Asian region within the game. Then once you've got your car, obviously slap whatever livery you want on there, jump down to the tuning section, and as far as upgrades, it's a pretty simple one. So some things you don't have to do. So I've got the heavy wets, I've got the intermediate tyres, I've got the hydraulic handbrake. You don't really need to do any of that. You could go for intermediate tyres for, dry and wet weather, but they wear out really quick. You could go for heavy wets and pit in when you need to, but you don't necessarily need to. You can still win even if you're sliding around all over the place. So I would recommend, if you want to keep the cost to a minimum, just leaving racing hard tyres on there. I don't recall if you need to buy the racing brakes or not, or the suspension, etc. I think some of these may already be on there, but if you haven't got it and you can see that I've bought it here, then definitely do so, like the fully customised transmission, for example. As far as the semi-racing stuff, once again, look through all of these, see what I've got fitted, and if you don't have that fitted, then of course change that. The power restrictor and the ballast, you really don't need to do, but again, it could come in useful for other events, such as online lobbies if you need it. So that's all the parts. It really is dirt simple to do, dirt cheap to do. So jumping into the garage, let's go to the tuning. Now the beauty of this car being kind of a little mix of a junior LMP meets open wheel formula kind of car is that it already has a fantastic structure to work from, through corners, for acceleration to some degree, and it's only got 250 horsepower, so it's not like it's going to blow your socks off, but with those racing hards on there, you're looking at 685 points. So you're well within the parameters. We do, of course, have an update coming to the game tomorrow, which is going to be adjusting performance points. So who knows what could happen then. Doubtless it won't be anything good because these updates and adjustments rarely are, but at least let's just wing it for now and see how it changes things. As far as the suspension though, we've got 5 on the anti-roll, 36 for the dampers, 40 for the expansion on the dampers, as opposed to the compression, 3.5 in the frequency, 1 degree of camber, so pretty minimal. You could raise that if you want it, but I think 1's enough really. I've got neutral toe on the back, 10 degrees out on the front. As far as the diff, those are on 10, 40 and 50. I don't recall now if I even changed those. That might be what it pretty much already comes as. As far as the gearbox, I've got it set on 300 kilometers per hour and I haven't touched the individual gears. Again, you could go closer ratio than that if you want to. You don't really need to stretch them out that much, to be honest. But again, I kind of like longer gearing anyway. The restrictor, of course, we haven't touched. Likewise with the ECU. You definitely want your downforce set as low as possible for Le Mans, and that'll depend on the track, mostly. And of course, if you've got the handbrake fitted, you can choose what you want to do with that, as I have. So that's it for the tune. If by some chance those of you who are not familiar with this race would like to know where to do it, then of course jump into the world circuits here. Then you want to go to the European section, come up here to Le Mans, which of course you will have to level up through the game to get, and this is the event that you want, the 700 point half an hour WTC 700. Now, of course, many of you will have already seen me run on this track before, but we will jump into a race to give you an example of what it can look like. Now, I did a couple of these back to back. I've done maybe 3 or 4 of these events just with the RedBull Junior to see how it performs in different conditions. Under one race, I had my first ever experience when it didn't rain at all, which was shocking to me. Then I know other people have never had rain, which is so strange because I pretty much always get it. Then I ran it where it was torrential rain and the car was all over the place, and then I had a race which was a little bit in between. Now, one thing I will say, The advantage that this has of never having to pit in, unless you want to really, is fantastic. The disadvantage though is it's so quick that you can end up crossing the finish line when the timer's nearly finished and having to do an extra entire lap, so making it like a 32-minute race or something instead, which is, that can be annoying. So I would recommend keeping an eye on how far ahead you are, because sometimes you might be able to just literally stop at the finish line, wait for the timer to go down, and then just go over the checkered flag, or, get the checkered flag and complete the event. So definitely keep your eye on that. I would recommend not changing the tyres to wets unless you really feel like you're having a hard time, because, like I said, the disadvantage that they have of pitting in compared to you means that they're never realistically going to catch up with you, even with the disadvantage in a straight line, which the Junior has. I would recommend having it set on maybe 3 or 4 fuel leanness for the race, otherwise you might burn through the fuel just a little bit too quickly, but 3 or 4 out of 6 is still a decent amount as far as power, and you can get this thing up around 160 miles an hour, so it certainly isn't slow. With that in mind then, if you are looking for a car that makes this just ridiculously easy and super simple, kind of one of the most direct methods of winning, apart from, I believe, the Alpha 155 DTM touring car is a popular choice, but obviously the disadvantage of something like the Alfa Romeo is you have to pay a lot more for it, and you have to wait for it in the Hagerty dealership. So it's not quite as easy of an option as the Red Bull Junior. So if you want, as I said, an easy method, give this one a try. There are technically methods which get even more payout if you can complete them quick enough, but this one's simple, it's fun, it's direct, and of course the Red Bull, as with all the other tunes I've done, just gives you another variation to try out if you want to. So of course, stick around on the channel for more. Be sure to check out my other builds. I've done the Mercedes A-Class AMG, which is a beast, the Mitsubishi GTO, the TVR Tuscan, the Camaro ZL1, a number of builds, all of which are slightly different and offer more or less of a challenge and a different handling kind of profile and performance profile. And of course, as I said, stick around for more, and we'll have to see tomorrow what a difference this update makes. Hopefully the cars are still eligible, but until next time I'll see you then, and for now, as always, thanks for watching.